Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back with Ghost Education 101, and this time I have Philip with me.
Hello.
So we're finally back together. I know it's last time we were as well, but it's been a while.
It has been a while. Yeah, I know you all missed me terribly.
And you actually have a presentation on Paranormal 101 today that you want to share.
I do. And in our intro video, that's not a demon, it's an alien at the end. So don't confuse it with a demon, please.
Everything's a demon. No.
Everything is. Oh, that's not, Paul's not. He's nice. Um, so I hope you invited all your friends that are interested in the paranormal but really don't know anything about it, because this presentation was developed for my team to give, like at library talks and fundraising events to introduce people to the paranormal. So a lot of you old timers know a lot of this stuff, but I thought this would be a good thing for new people to see. So if I can figure out how to share my screen, we'll just jump into it. And if you want to ask questions during it, I mean, I'm totally cool with interactive, questions and talking. So just let Heather know she'll be watching, because I can't see anything but my screen. All right, get to it. Maybe we will. And of course it disappeared. There we go.
I was talking here and I was on mute. Go figure. But I was like, my mom's watching. She says I was her little demon for 40 years.
Oh, your mom's watching. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
I can, but I think I'm going to remove myself from the screen so we don't block it.
Okay. All right. So looks like we have 12 people with us. Share this with all your friends. This is fun. All right. Paranormal 101, an introduction to paranormal investigating. Paranormal. First of all, let's define what the word paranormal means. It is purported phenomena beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. This means it's impossible to explain by known natural forces or by science. It means something that happens that you cannot figure out how or why it happened. We always consider that paranormal. Excuse me. Okay, so you've decided you want to get into the paranormal. Let's decide. Have you decided? Are you going to be a ghost hunter or a paranormal investigator? Because there is a big difference between the two. A ghost hunter is someone that likes to hunt ghosts for fun. They're usually in it for the thrill, excitement, or for personal reasons. They just have an interest and want to do it, thinks it'll be fun and exciting, and just want to go out and do it and have some fun. And on the other hand, a paranormal investigator goes way beyond hunting for ghosts. We do research, we do interviews, we collect data, we conduct experiments, and are often helping the clients, which means also staying connected and doing follow-up with the clients, because the problem may not be solved with one visit, or it may be an ongoing investigation as more evidence or more information comes in. So things can always be changing in an investigation. And a paranormal investigator, they will usually have a conclusion at the end of the investigation and present the client with a full report and go over the evidence that they collected. So there is kind of a lot more responsibility when you consider yourself a paranormal investigator as opposed to just a fun weekend ghost hunter. But there's nothing wrong with either one. Ghost hunting is fun if you don't want to get serious and delve into, all the technical things of being an investigator. Just try to learn to do things the right way by watching Ghost Ed 101. All right, let's talk about what is a ghost. A ghost is the soul or spirit of a deceased person or animal which appears or makes its presence known to the living, believed to be earthbound, not to have crossed over. Now, the term earthbound is something what most people know. They think, oh, this ghost is stuck here in this earth plane. I don't like the term earthbound, but it's what most people are familiar with because spirits have free will. They just may not know that they have free will and are able to make choices. It all depends on their state of mind when they've died. They could be afraid. They may feel like something's holding them back, but they're not bound by some type of ritual or something. So I like to say earth dwelling spirits. And a poll in 2019 found that 46% of Americans believe in ghosts. I mean, that's quite a lot. People don't like to admit it, but usually, when we're out somewhere and someone says, "Oh, he's a ghostbuster," they come up to you and start telling you their ghost story, which is, sometimes fun unless you're trying to get away from it for a little bit. But, we love hearing other people's ghost stories, but they don't want to acknowledge them publicly to other people, but they would love to tell us their stories. So, are ghosts real? Current science can't prove that spirits walk among us yet. Paranormal studies fall under the category of pseudoscience, which consists of statements, beliefs, or practices that claim to be both scientific and factual, but are incompatible with scientific method. All right, why is this pseudoscience? Because science has not yet proven the survival and continuation of the human consciousness, or better known as our soul or our spirit, after bodily death. So until we can replicate a spirit in a laboratory, they're never going to consider what we do science. We can use scientific methods as far as data collecting and carrying out experiments, but the scientific community will never say we're scientists yet. It just doesn't mean that the equipment or devices or formulas or whatever it is have been developed yet. So the science hasn't caught up with where we are. It's like Christopher Columbus sailing off, or they think he's going to fall off the edge of the earth. They didn't know. So then we come to, are you a believer, a skeptic, or a non-believer? Because there's difference in these. If you're truly a skeptic or a non-believer, a believer is, yes, I believe. You don't have to prove anything to me. I know it's real. I believe in ghosts. I believe in spirits. I believe in demons, angels, whatever. You definitely, nothing can change your mind about it, which is what I am. And a skeptic doesn't know for sure if they believe in it or not, but they will objectively review the data before forming a conclusion. Some people call themselves skeptics, but they would rather just argue with you than objectively look at the data before they form their conclusion. So, you have to be careful with people who say they're a skeptic. Some of them just want to argue with you, regardless of whether they're going to look for their own conclusion after reviewing evidence. Now, a non-believer just refuses to believe it even when it's right in front of their face. A ghost could walk up and slap them upside the head, and they're going to still deny it and say it's not true. So you got to choose which one you are. And having skeptics in the paranormal field is very helpful. They can make you look at other things that you may have forgotten about or overlooked to help you solve an issue that because you're a believer, you have just kind of forgotten to use some critical thinking and go beyond what you believe into what else it could possibly be. So it's good to have skeptics around you in the paranormal world. And it's good, even though you're a believer, if you're an investigator, you need to use critical thinking and break it down and start from the basement and work your way up as far as what could be happening. Just because we're a believer, we don't need to, when a client contacts us for an investigation and they say, "Oh, this moved in my house, blah, blah, blah," to automatically think their house is haunted. We've got to go in first and try to put the puzzle together, because it could be something totally organic and non-paranormal.
Yep. Stephanie wants to know if you can be a believer and a skeptic.
Oh, absolutely. But once you've encountered paranormal activity, that you can't debunk. Sometimes it's hard to be a skeptic, although there are things that happen that you're skeptical about. And that happens with me a lot as an investigator. Like we got somebody today contacted us wanting to discuss the demonic something going on in their house, and it's like, oh geez. She said that this ghost was stealing her things. It's like, well, what things are they stealing, and how does a ghost steal your things? So anyway, they haven't written back to us yet, so we'll have to see what goes on with that. So an investigator's job is to first debunk the purported claims of activity. So we're not going into a location to say, yes, it's haunted. We're going in to try to see if there are any logical explanations for the things that are happening. High EMFs, carbon monoxide, mold. Someone said this glass moved across the bedside table. Well, was there condensation underneath the glass that caused the glass to move? I've seen that happen before. So next we collect data. We're checking environmental. We're checking data about the people in the home, about the location of the home, what's around the home, what's in the ground, what the weather is, what the geological weather is, what's going on. If we're having solar flares, we want to keep track of these things. Whereas a ghost hunter would not really care about these things. Next, we're going to document the investigation, review and analyze the data that we collected, compile case findings, and then lastly, present the client with the case report. Any questions? Okay.
Nope, not yet.
You're on mute. Okay. Next is our paranormal investigation process. This is what a paranormal team or person, their process when they potentially get a new client. The client will contact the team. With my team, it's through our website. We have a full questionnaire that we ask for them to fill out with all the details, and then we will contact the client. The client fills out our extensive questionnaire, and then we call the client and discuss the questionnaire and then set up a date for an in-person interview. Now, with the COVID situation, we've been doing virtual interviews, which is really nice because we can record the interview so we can go back and review it. And if we've forgotten something or we want to we'll relook at their reaction, review their reaction to a question or something, we can do that, which is great with Zoom. So next, after that, we'll the team leaders or whoever runs your group will determine if an investigation is warranted. Like we interviewed a potential client last night, but he seems to be having an attachment and not a haunting in his house because he said he went away for the weekend and the activity followed him to the hotel. So that right there tells us it's not the location that's haunted. It's probably him. So that's a different way. We probably don't need to go to his house. We need to work with him on getting rid of an attachment. So next, you want to have your client sign permission to investigate, because sometimes when we do research, we may find out something that they really didn't want out in public. And if we come across it and it comes to light, they may get very angry about it. Like someone arrested in their family or a murder or, drug abuse, something like that. So next is set a date and time for the investigation. You inform your team of the upcoming investigation. Then one week prior, we confirm the date with the client again, because sometimes they can be a little sketchy. And, we've planned to maybe take off work or get pet sitters or childcare. So you want to confirm a week ahead. Then, depending on the situation, you want to research the property. If you're going on a fun investigation, sometimes we don't always research the property. And the morning of the investigation, you confirm with the client again. You want to make sure they're still on board and ready to go, because something could have happened and they just freaked out and don't want you to come at the last minute. Some of these investigations aren't that close. I mean, it may be an hour or two drive and you don't want to be on your way, and then call them and them say, oh, well, we don't want you to come now, and we're halfway there. So you want to call before you leave the house. Next, you want to record data of the solar phase, the moon phase, atmospheric conditions, geological site information, and you can get that on, there's wonderful websites when you can see what the solar flares are, the X-ray are, just all this stuff, because you want to keep track of this as an investigator to see if there are any correlations when you get evidence at one location and you have the same atmospheric conditions at another investigation and you get activity, and maybe it's something different at the next one. So you want to keep all this on record, and you know, because the theory are these solar flares can cause a lot of EMF that could possibly feed a ghost, or it could possibly affect your equipment. So you want to know these for different reasons.
Okay, you have a couple questions.
All right.
Can a ghost look like a real person in the middle of the day?
Absolutely. The ghosts don't come out just at night. I mean, you saw a full-bodied apparition at Gettysburg.
Yes. Yeah, and that was about mid-afternoon, I'd say. So still bright light.
I mean, a lot of people say, why do you always ghost hunt at night? Well, I work during the day. Most people do. I'm off on Sundays, so Saturday night is just an opportune time for me to be able to do what I do, because you know, we're not getting paid for this. This is something we're doing for fun and because we have a passion for it. You know, it's not like we could take off on a Tuesday and on a work day and the whole team go to an investigation, but they can show up anytime. I mean, absolutely anytime, any full. I've never seen a full-bodied apparition. That's like, you know, the holy grail for me.
You got a couple more real quick.
Yeah.
How do you know if a client's telling the truth?
Well, you have to learn the skills of interviewing. You can read body language. You can ask the same question in different ways and word it differently. A lot of times, you know, when you look at their written questionnaire, it may say, you know, the bear flew off the shelf. And then you interview them and it may be, well, you know, you want to say, well, how far did it fly off the shelf? Did it like fly across the room and hit the wall, or did it just like fall over and hit the floor? You know, you've got to kind of break it down, because people at the height of their excitement about the whole thing have a tendency to embellish, and it's not always on purpose. It's just the excitement of the situation. So sometimes they're not necessarily lying, they're just embellishing. So you got to look how to weed through those things, and with practice you can. Now some people just outright lying, you know, it's hard. I mean, because people lie. I mean, we had a case a few years ago and I asked her many times, you know, are you on psychotic medications? Oh, no. We get to the investigation. She had quit taking her, it was an antipsychotic drug. That's all I'll say. You know, we asked, and she said no. And then we get there and we find out new information. So that changes the procedure of the investigation. New information has come in. So things are always evolving, and you have to be on your toes and ready for your thought process to change at the drop of a hat. But as far as them lying, yeah, they lie. It's just something that's just, well, people lie all the time. It's just something we're going to have to deal with. But you have to be able to go with the flow when you find out the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the one thing I look for is, and it's tough, is to see if their story sounds almost rehearsed.
Yeah, you and I interviewed somebody once, and you could tell this girl had watched the paranormal shows. Her vocabulary of things that were happening was so television. That red flag, ding, 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 ding. Yep. I mean, a lot of people are not going to know these certain terms that you hear on paranormal shows unless they're watching these shows or have researched it.
Yep. Okay. Andrew wants to know where you're located.
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. And would you get a shaman or Reiki to get rid of an attachment?
Yeah, I'm thinking either or. With this gentleman last night, we gave him some things to do himself, and we told him, like, we can give you the information, but unless you carry out what your part needs to be, there's nothing we can do. You have to do the work. So yeah, a Reiki healer can maybe readjust his energy. A shaman can. Yeah, they're just, it's just, is it ibuprofen or is it Tylenol? It's all, you're all going to get the same result.
Right. And what might make you turn down a client?
Red flags. I mean, when they start demon, it's like, well, what makes you think it's a demon?
Mm-hmm.
Like we had one today. She said she couldn't finish filling out the questionnaire because the demon would not let her finish filling it out. I was like, really? So, those kinds of things, you just have to watch for red flags. Or one lady said that her neighbor had gone to the cemetery and summoned the spirits and made an army to do his dirty work and come after her. I mean, this is like, wait, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just so far-fetched. And we've had to add to our website that we don't deal in certain things. We're not dealing with curses. We're not dealing with certain things. Because you can't investigate certain things. How do you investigate a curse?
Right.
We've got to have things we can document. So those are the kinds of things we turn down.
Okay. What percentage of investigations would you say turn out to be paranormal?
Well, it depends on if it's a home investigation, versus a fun investigation. We haven't had many home investigations because of COVID the past 2 years. But honestly, by the time we've done our work, interviewed, collected the data and stuff, a lot of times it is paranormal. I mean, but there are spirits all around us all the time. So we have to discern, are they in that house? Are they causing this problem? Are they following us around? Because as a psychic medium, sometimes, when your light's on, they want to come to the front porch. So you have to be careful and know that you're dealing with what's exactly in that location. But honestly, a huge percentage of what we investigate turn out to be paranormal. Mm-hmm. Okay. But we've done our homework so far as to pretty much know that something's there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Bob says, you would think a spirit or a ghost would behave themselves when the paranormal team shows up and would be super quiet during the investigation. Do you find this to be the case a lot? And how do you decide if a place is haunted if ghosts are quiet whenever investigators are present?
That's it. Sometimes you may not get evidence on the first visit. You may have to go back. I mean, I had one home we visited 3 times. One time completely dead, no pun intended. One time activity out crazy. The next time, a little bit. So, I mean, you may have to tell the client we may need to come back more than one time, because when we get there, just like he said, they may be like, oh, they're not catching us. So it's a crapshoot. I mean, just to be honest, I mean,
it's hit or miss.
It's hit or miss, exactly.
Yep. How do you distinguish between spirit energy and a person manifesting a haunting with their own bad energy?
Well, this isn't scientific. This is spiritual. A lot of times I can tell when you have, you learn how to read energies, learn how to, you see, some of us see spirits. Some of us know they're there. Sometimes we can communicate with them. Mm-hmm. But when you're being totally objective, you have to get evidence and data. My team, I prefer that the client leave the house, everyone in the house leave for the first half of the investigation. After they do the walkthrough, show us the property, point out certain things, we ask questions about certain things. Once we're in the home, we like for them to leave. So if someone's manifesting it and they're not in the house, the activity is probably not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's a poltergeist situation. So if they come back and we have them do experiments with us and something happens, well, then we have to look at at that factor. It's like, is their energy encouraging whatever's in this house to act, or is it the person? So it's detective work. I mean, it's detective work. It's what's the word I'm looking for? Eliminate, go through, I
Yeah,
forget the word.
process of elimination.
Thank you. Yes, process of elimination. Smart girl. Yeah. So, you're going through steps to try to eliminate the obvious and get to the paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we still have a few more questions coming in, but I'll let you do a couple more slides so we can get through the whole thing.
Okay, well, this is a continuation of the process. We arrive at the location, noting any factors such as cemeteries, high voltage power lines, rivers, streams, train tracks, different things like that. I mean, in my team's training manual, it's what's considered an outside walkthrough. Notice all these things. Notice how close the neighbors' houses are. Notice if there's any landfills down the road, which methane gas could be seeping up through the ground. You want to observe everything in your environment outside first. Next, once you've done that, as you're going into the house, greet the client, walk through your property with the client, and then have them fill out the remaining paperwork. And paperwork, you can watch our other presentation on paranormal paperwork to figure out what all those are, because there's a lot of liability things that you need to be aware of when you investigated someone's home. Next, we have the client leave the property if possible, and pets. Pets can make all kinds of noise. Cats can make scratching noises. Dogs can make scratching noises. Whining may sound like somebody whispering. So we try to, during the interviews with the client, impress upon them how important it is to have everybody out of the house. That's the way I like to do it. Other people may not like to do it that way. But, some of our equipment is very sensitive. Our recorders are very sensitive. Our team members know each other's voices. And when you've got, say, 2 kids, a mom and dad, and a dog and a cat in the house making noise, it's sometimes going to be hard to review that evidence, because it's like, was that us, or was that the kid? So with everybody out of the house, it kind of eliminates some contamination. That's one of the reasons. Next, we have the sensitive walkthrough. That's where the medium or the sensitive goes through the house and try to feel where the energy is that they think activity may be. Then the equipment setup. A lot of times we will set up equipment where the sensitive says, this feels like a hot spot. We may need a camera here, or a REM pod, etc., at a certain location in the house. Next, we document baseline readings, which is EMF, electromagnetic fields, carbon monoxide, temperature, ambient radiation, and humidity. Those are the things that we look for. And there are common levels of ambient radiation in homes that are acceptable, believe it or not. So if you buy a radiation detector, it comes with a little chart that shows you what levels are acceptable and when you need to get the heck out of the house. But they have found that with spirits manifesting, sometimes there's a sudden high spike in the radiation level, very quick and very high. Okay. Next one. Let me scroll down here. All right, first we want to debunk, once we're in the house, any claims of activity. If they said, the cabinets are flying open, we want to jump up and down in the kitchen or another room and see if vibration may be opening a cabinet or something. We had one lady say that she's hearing things upstairs. We looked in the eaves of the house and opened up the attic part, and there was mice feces everywhere. And, that could have been a logical explanation. And we showed her when she came back to the house, and she said, I'd rather have a ghost than have mice in my attic. I said, well, it would be probably easier to get rid of. Investigate using our equipment and observations. Have client return for the second half of the investigation. And we repeat experiments that we did without them there, and we do them with them there, like EVP sessions, certain things like that. Then we end the investigation, pack equipment. You want to inventory your equipment when you pack because you do not want to leave something valuable like 2 hours away from where you live, which, yes, I have done before. Left a piece of equipment in an attic. That was terrifying. Next, you want to check the property, make sure you put everything back. I try to get, if we go to a fun pay for investigation, we bring a broom and a wet mop, a mop that you spray. And, we try to clean up because we want to leave a really good impression with those proprietors of that location because reputation is everything. We have tried to get in some locations before, and they have said we don't allow paranormal investigating anymore. After the last group we had in, they totally were irreverent. They left trash everywhere. We've got to make sure we behave ourselves and act professionally. So after we leave, we go home. We review evidence. Each team member sends the lead investigator a mini report with any evidence that they have found, any personal experiences, etc. Then the team discusses the case together, and we discuss evidence. Like if we hear an EVP, we'll send it to each other and say, "Was this you? Do you remember this happening?" And we can eliminate some false positives that way, or either corroborate that that's paranormal. That's not us. Then we can compile the final report and present the client with the report and any evidence and explain the report and the evidence to the client. You want any questions now before I go on?
Yeah, we can. One of the questions was from Sandra, wants to know how long you've been involved in the paranormal.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Well, I've been seeing dead people for years. So is that paranormal? But investigating it, I'd say like 12 years, maybe. Yeah.
I know. I've been researching for 30 years and actively investigating probably the last 5.
Yeah, exactly. The invention of the internet and the websites and all that stuff has helped tremendously with, progressing the passion for investigating. There's so much information so easily available now that really that helps.
Yep.
You young people have it made. That's old people had to go to the library and look for a book on ghosts. And my little town's like, oh no, we don't have any ghost books.
You check out a book and everybody in the town knows.
Yes, because they see your name on the little card.
Yeah, exactly. We heard loud sounds if someone was upstairs and nobody was. Is it a spirit or is it because the house was old? It was first a police station changed into a normal house. Plus a young guy killed himself downstairs. Was wondering if it's him letting us know he's with us.
Well, you got to investigate to figure it out. You got to collect evidence and data. You got to see if he can do it. You can record it and, video cameras and process of elimination there again. Look for any animals in the attic. Look for different things that could be making that. Go into the location and sit and be silent for a while and see if the location has its own sounds. We do that. We just like sit in the quiet for a minute and let the house talk to us if it does in its own organic way. That's investigating. So I can't say what it is. It could be him or it could be somebody else that you didn't expect to be there, which has happened. We had an investigation where I thought it was a couple people and ended up being some other people that were there from things that they responded to. So that's what investigating is about, trying to find these things out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you used trigger objects and what do you think their success rate?
Yes. All the time, use them. And most of the times they don't work. So when they do work, it's good evidence. Take, for example, I have a trigger object sensor device. You may have seen it. You connect it to something metal and put the trigger object on it. I used it in St. Augustine at the Spanish military hospital. I put a cigar, some other things on it, never once went off. And this place was haunted. Used it at the an old gel. We put some playing cards, a little bottle of whiskey, some other things. Never once went off. We go to another investigation, put it on a man's desk who we thought was in the building, put a bottle of champagne on it and a cigar, and he would touch that in response to questions. So I sent that video to the maker of this device and I said, okay, talk to me about this. He said, well, that just explains that it really works because the only way to make that go off is to touch it. And I used it after that in an investigation that we just had, hooked up some things to it, and it never reacted. So 1 out of 4 times it worked. So trigger objects can work. Music is a really good one to elicit some EVPs, especially Civil War music, like playing taps. If you're at a location where there was, death from the Civil War, that's usually a good one to get some reaction to. So yes, I believe trigger objects can work.
Okay. Is it true that it isn't always the house, but the ground that it was built on that causes the haunting?
Yeah, because and maybe not the house, but what somebody has done in the house. But yeah, because you don't know what was on that land before, and spirits wander. And something may have happened down the street, but that spirit has some way found its way into your house, which has happened. So any place can be haunted for any reason. I'll just put it that way.
Okay. Do you believe that spirits can get turned off by the amount of people, such as tours, that come through during the day, and you have an overnight?
Well, let's say you're sitting at home watching soap operas, and all of a sudden, like 10 people come stomping through your house that you don't know, messing up everything. I mean, I would probably run or either call the police. So, yeah, I think because we all have our own energies, we bring our energies into a location. That affects the energies around you. It can either like repel or attract certain energies. So, yeah, absolutely. They can absolutely just be turned off us being in their house. That's why we have an opening statement. And I think we've read it before, Ghost Ed, about introducing ourselves and that we're not here to cause you any harm. We're only here to learn about you, why you're here, blah, 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 introduce ourselves, be very respectful, and you catch more flies with honey. So it just depends on if they want to play or not with you.
Yeah. Okay. And have you ever had a spirit or spirits follow you into an investigation?
I've had them follow me out and go home with me, but I wouldn't say follow me in. So had some when we've used spirit boxes that have nothing to do with the location trying to communicate. So you have to have some type of system worked out to where you can tell them, if they will, not to communicate with you, that you want to communicate with what's in that location. Done that before. A lot of these things we can't control. We just do the best we can. But I've never had anything follow me into one that I'm aware of. But yeah, they can follow you home.
Okay. Besides EMF detection, what other devices do you use for environmental readings?
Oh, well, we're going to be looking at that in a second.
Okay.
Anything else?
Jeff, you're jumping the gun.
Yep. He's on the right track.
I'm working on scrolling through. So, okay. Someone I know is seeing her and her family around their house, gliding up the stairs, dressed in their clothes, full body visions of themselves. They are all awake and very aware they are watching themselves run away or cross from room to room. Is this doppelgangers? What would you call it, or what causes it?
You're seeing yourself or family members. I mean, therefore, just like I said, we need more information. What medications are the people seeing these things on? Do you have a buildup of carbon monoxide in your house? Are you just having delusion? There's we can't just give you a blanket answer. It's like, oh yeah, that's a such and such. There's so much more that goes into it that we have to decipher and put together to say, we can't explain this. We don't know what this is. So I wouldn't be a good paranormal investigator. It's like, oh yeah, that's a doppelganger. I mean, it could be something residual or something you could be self-manifesting. Could be another spirit taking on your appearance. That's a grab bag full of things it could be.
Okay, you were good.
Okay. So we'll just go over a few pieces of kind of basic paranormal investigation equipment. Now, remember, this presentation was put together for people that have absolutely no clue about the paranormal world. So paranormal investigate DVRs, which we have a new DVR system that is amazing. But these are cameras that you can place around in a location that will record continuously. And my advice is, if you don't have a body camera, get your cameras up before you do anything else, because something will happen and you don't have your cameras up. And if it's not documented, it didn't happen. You can tell everybody it happened, but if you don't have evidence of it, it didn't happen really. But this is just a picture of our monitor. We had 4 cameras on here. We now have 8 cameras with audio, which are amazing. Personal video cameras, night vision, preferably, and IR lights, and white light, so you don't trip and fall. Sometimes you want one of those. So next, that background should be gray. Voice recorders. We use a little speaker. This is a diode. This is like, you don't need to know about that, but digital recorders. This is the radiation detector. This is some ITC stuff. The Mel meter is one of the most common EMF and temperature meters that people in the paranormal investigating world use. I mean, these are great. They're single access EMF readers, which means they will only measure EMF coming from one direction. The professional ones are 3 axis, which means they can measure coming from 3 different angles. So with this one, you want to move it slowly and keep turning it to get the true EMF reading. We use motion sensors. This is some of the basic things that we use. Now, someone was asking about environmental detection. This is the most complete piece of equipment that we use for that. This is called an EDI Plus, Environmental Detection Instrument. So this will detect EMF readings. It detects temperature, barometric pressure, humidity, and vibration. The vibration mode I don't use a lot, because a lot of times we're just picking this thing up and moving it around from room to room. But the temperature, the little lights will be blue if the temperature changes to cold, red if it suddenly changes to warm. The barometric pressure and the humidity will light if it changes. The temperature changes, those are really hard to monitor. If you're in a home that's got the heating on, the heat may come on and your temperature may rise, which has nothing to do with the paranormal. Or an air conditioner may make the temperature drop suddenly, which has nothing to do with the paranormal. So sudden temperature changes, unless you're seeing your breath come out of your mouth and it's 90 degrees, those are really hard to monitor, to be honest. It's not like in the movies where all of a sudden it's cold and everybody's shivering in their breath. You can see it in the air. That's kind of Hollywood. Unless someone's had that experience, I don't know. Another good piece of equipment is the thermal imaging camera. It can see hot and cold signatures. If there is an apparition manifesting, it may be either hotter than colder than anything else in the room. And this is like I had touched the bear that it's facing on, and I touched it on top of the head, and it's yellow for warm. The FLIR, can be very expensive, but there are cheaper alternatives. You can buy the adapter that will go on to an iPhone or an iOS Android. This is a iPad mini. You just want to make sure whatever device screen you use, that it's compatible with the add-on device. And here's one we're all familiar with is the REM pod, radiating electromagnetic field. And the antenna here raises and emits its own EMF field. And anything that breaks that field, depending on the strength, these little lights will light up in multicolors. The new ones have ambient temperature changes that will light up. I turn that off because it will drive you nuts, because the temperature, like I said, is always changing in a location. Sometimes, more than 5 degrees at a time. We had some really good REM pod activity on our last investigation, because we've had investigations and the thing never goes off. Trigger object sensor. This is the sensor that I was discussing earlier. Like, I have taken this teddy bear, wrapped him in copper wiring. So I just connect the claw here to it, and the whole thing, if you touch it, will light this up. So trigger objects, yeah, great. We also use laser grids, not the laser pins, because the casing gets so hot the battery dies within like an hour or two. This is I think the GS2 by Ghost Stop. It's a wonderful laser grid, and it's not cheap, but if anything with mass moves in front of the laser, it will make the laser distort. Also, it's good for seeing if anything you have placed in the room moves when you're reviewing video, because the pattern will be interrupted. This is the natural tri-field meter. This is the most scientific piece of equipment out of most of what we use. It measures non-man-made electricity, I guess you'd say. We keep it set on magnetic because the magnetic field changes. That's usually hard to explain. Also, like you said, in your non-tech tools, compasses, the magnetic field change will make the compass move. Same thing with this. If the magnetic field changes, it will make a little, it's a buzzing, beeping sound, and then the needle will move. This is the older one. The new ones are digital. But you can ask yes and no questions and have the spirit touch this, and we've used that for communication before. Next, we have the SLS camera. This is something that's very popular. You see it on a lot of the TV shows. This is basically a Connect box. I'm not up on my Xbox stuff.
Yeah, it's an Xbox Connect.
Yeah, which was a PlayStation thing. The device projects a field of little tiny IR dots of light, and anything that comes between the furthest point of light, between that point and the Connect, it will map out in a skeletal mapping program. Now, this thing cannot distinguish a coat stand from a person. So there's a lot of false positives with this. It is fun to use. We use them. The best way, if you want to use one of these, is put it stationary, set it, do not carry it, point it towards a blank wall with nothing in between it at 6 feet away. Put it 6 feet away from a blank wall, leave it, hit record. And if you see something skipping along in front of it, that's kind of hard to debunk, because there's nothing between the furthest dot of the projection of the grid that would cause it to map out something. I hope that I explained that well enough. Yeah, it's a fun piece of equipment, but you would never want to present SLS camera footage to a client as evidence. The tri-field meter, yes, you can.
And just make sure that it is far enough away from the wall, because even if you're standing behind it, your heat gets reflected off the wall's paint.
Yeah, good point. And make sure you hit record on the tablet, because it doesn't do any good if the record's not on. Had that happen before. Now we're going to get into the fun stuff, the types of hauntings. Is there any questions before I move on to this part?
Yep, there's a couple.
I'll make them easy.
Okay. Do you believe argon, I'm assuming she means like the argon gas, can cause mental illness?
What is argon gas? Help me. I'm not going to deny. I can't remember what argon gas is.
Just to make sure I give you the right one,
Yeah, look that one up.
it is a noble gas like helium.
Well, I would imagine any type of gas other than oxygen can cause issues.
Mhm.
I don't know what argon gas does to the brain, but that's something we can look up. I don't know where argon gas would occur, where it would naturally be occurring. So we'll have to look that up. So I can't really answer that, but any gas other than oxygen, it may affect the brain in a negative way. I mean, I would think so.
Yeah, in a quick research, it says it's naturally occurring in the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, but I don't know the levels of it. So
I don't know. I'm not a,
I mean,
paranormal science,
radiation.
but not chemistry.
Yeah, radiation is ambient in homes, but extreme radiation, will kill you. So too much of anything is bad for you.
Yeah. Do you use a wire or wireless DVR system?
Okay. Well, I researched these when we were looking because I wanted our cameras to have audio because there is nothing more boring than watching 6 hours of silent video footage of a room. Oh my gosh. I would rather run naked down Peachtree Street than have to do that again. So wired ones will run continuously. From when I was researching, the non-wireless ones will only record when there's motion detected. I don't think the battery life is enough to have them record continuously. Now, I may be wrong. This has been a while since I looked those up, but there are also things that can interfere with the signal for the wireless ones. So I prefer the 4K wired myself because there's less chance of distortion, we'll say, from some signal interfering with the wireless one. So when I researched, the wireless ones did not record continuously because they were battery. Now there may be some that's plugged up, but I'm not sure. But I prefer the wired because there's less chance of anything interfering with it. And ours is 4K, and you have to have a 4K cable with it, which they're not that much more expensive than the regular DVR cables, but ours all have sound. So each one of our DVR cameras records sound with it. And we have gotten so many EVPs that I did not expect to get from our DVR cameras. And you can see them on Georgia Paranormal Investigations Facebook page.
Does the laser grid give off a sound if shadows are detected?
The GS2 does. It can map out hot and cold in front of you. It has a small little screen on it, and it can map which direction it's coming from. And you can also put an SD card in and record it.
Okay. And then getting back to that one question about the doppelgangers, no drugs, no medications, no house problems. This has been over about 3 years, these sightings. She wants to know, why would spirits show themselves as members of that household?
I would want to know if when they see them, if they're distorted in any way, because that's usually not a good sign. Like if it's you see yourself, but you may look a little weird, or you may not see the whole body. That sometimes is not a good sign. I'm not saying what. I could talk to them privately, but yeah, I've not really heard of that. I mean, a doppelganger is not a good thing to see from what I've read. I'm not really up on my doppelgangers because I've never come across it. But yeah, when I would be curious to know if when they see the person, if they look distorted or not, or if they're perfectly clear, like a perfect replica of the other person.
Mm-hmm. And do you present personal experiences and gut feelings with the clients, or just what's captured on equipment?
We have a thing called personal experience, not presented as evidence, so to speak, but presented as personal experience. Like In this area, I felt lightheaded. I felt blah blah blah. So we'll look through those before and decide what we'd want to show the client. But we do have personal experience section, not necessarily evidence. And we'll say that like this is not conclusive. This is totally subjective, but this is what this person was feeling XYZ.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And getting back to argon, she says, though, she means argons, which I've never heard of. And they're attachments that look like spiders, crabs, and lizards.
All right. We'll have to research.
Yeah, definitely going to have to do some research on that one. Okay. And quickly scrolling through, I'm not seeing. Oh, is your DVR easy to set up?
Yes. The hardest part is running the cables and then taping them down. We always tape our cables down to the floor with painter's tape. Do not ever use anything other than painter's tape because you do not want to ruin somebody's floors. And we just have we've just gotten, thanks to Mickey, some walkie-talkies because our last investigation was 3 floors. And to adjust the cameras, because you don't need a lot of ceiling on your camera. You know, you need to lower the cameras and get more of the room. And it'd say, lower, move that one. No, to the left. No, my left, your left. You know, so we're going to solve that with some walkie-talkies. But after you've done all that, those all have to be turned completely off because walkie-talkie signals, just like cell phone signals, can interfere with your equipment.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you agree with the representation of possession story on Days of Our Lives?
I was an All My Children watcher, so I couldn't tell you.
I don't watch soap operas, so I have no clue.
I don't either. And when I did, back in the 80s, it was All My Children.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What does it mean if the doppelganger is distorted? Does it not a good thing?
Usually not. Mm-hmm. But it also could be a spirit who can't remember what they look like themselves and are using the energy of the people to manifest in their likeness. That's also a possibility.
Okay. And she said, "Oop, I lost it here for where to go." She
That's
said
also like, have you ever heard your own voice on an investigation in an EVP? I mean, I have. I've heard them mimicked coming out of the spirit box. It's like they may not remember their voice. They may be using the vibrations in the location, and it sounds like your voice because they don't remember what their voice sounds like or how to speak in their own voice, and they can be using your energy to create the voice, and it sounds just like you.
Right. And Lori says she misspelled it. Talking text doesn't like her, but it's Archon.
Anybody.
Yeah. So she said it was Archon. And a quick lookup of that is each of the 9 chief magistrates in ancient Athens. But then she, as far as malevolent, sadistic beings who controlled the earth.
Oh, sounds like people I've dated. We'll have to look that up.
I'm going to have to research that one for sure.
That's your homework. Add to your pile of things to do.
Yeah, I have way too much to do. Okay.
All right.
Yep. And she's asked if it creates mental illness. So, Lori, I will definitely look more into that. And we are all caught up on questions.
Okay, great. Types of hauntings. Number 1, this is what we most often want to discover at a location, is an intelligent haunting. The soul of a deceased person or animal that continues to exist in some form on the earthly plane. An aware ghost or spirit that interacts with its environment. It means it has a consciousness, it thinks, you can communicate with it. Those are our favorites. I mean, doesn't mean they're always pleasant or nice, but it's the ones you're going to probably get most interaction with. So the intelligent ones, why are they still here? That's one of my ancestors in that picture right there on the left. Why are they still here? Maybe they died a traumatic death, murder, car accident, etc. They don't want to leave. Unfinished business. Somebody did them wrong. They don't want to go. died suddenly, doesn't know they're dead. I think a lot of that has occurred during the Civil War. People were shot and died instantly, or maybe an aneurysm. I mean, you're alive 1 second and you're gone the next. Loved ones emotionally distraught, can't let go. I've had that in an investigation when a client, her husband committed suicide right in front of her, and she could not let him go, and he did not want to go because he felt guilty. He was still there. We had to do a little spirit release session with the wife to let him go. Can't rest due to injustice done to them. I mean, we've all had an injustice done to us, but probably won't keep me here. I'm just going to stay here to haunt people for the fun of it. Confusion, mental illness. Like I said, the state of mind that they were in when they passed. I mean, were they just full of anger and hate when they died that they just can't let go and don't want to move on? Mental illness, I'm not, I'm on the fence about, because if someone is mentally ill, that their own will has been subdued from this bodily illness. So once they're out of their body, do they still have that mental illness? Those are questions that I ask myself. Guilt or remorse, and here's a big one: fear of the other side and being judged for something that they did wrong, or maybe they didn't do enough good that they feel guilty. They just don't want to leave. And my dog is snoring. If you hear him, I apologize. And that's my grandmother up in that picture in her Model T. Next, we have number 2, which is one of the most common, residual hauntings. You've mostly, I'm sure, heard of this. It is an imprint of a person or an event. It can also be an animal. In time, a placed memory, like a video clip repeating itself over and over and over. It will never change. It never interacts. It doesn't, doesn't appear in the living room, and the next it appears in the bedroom and throws the pillows off the bed. It will not do that. It will always do the exact same thing. Those can be gotten rid of a lot of times by changing the energy in the location. Residual hauntings are connected to a location and not a person usually. All right, the next one, which is a lot of people have a lot of confusion about, are poltergeists. The term is derived from 2 German words. Poltern means mischievous, basically, and geist means ghost, or a noisy, unruly spirit. So that's how they came up with the term poltergeist. Poltergeists are not ghosts. Just want you to know. They are spontaneous, recurring psychokinesis. The emotions of troubled individuals whose built up stress unconsciously projects outwards in the form of mental energy, which affects the physical environment, producing phenomenon. The person causing the activity is called the agent. So in an investigation, if you have poltergeist activity going on, you have to isolate the agent in the location. This is where it's attached to a person and not a location. Whereas a residual is attached to a location, a poltergeist situation is attached to a person, or persons, can be both. Doesn't always have to be a pubescent teenage girl. It can be a grown adult under severe stress, child, man, woman, female, it doesn't matter. Now, people often say there is a haunting, there's a case with poltergeist activity. All right, now here's where we have to kind of pick and choose the things we say. So let's say there's a ghost in a house causing things to be moved in the house. A lot of people say that's poltergeist activity. Well, it's not a poltergeist. It is physical phenomena being created by the intelligent spirit. Now, that ghost or spirit can be using psychokinesis to create the phenomena, but it's still a ghost. It's not a living person as a poltergeist agent would be. So does that make sense to everybody? So just remember, there can be poltergeist-like activity in a house being created by a ghost, but it's not a poltergeist situation. Poltergeist situation is when the agent, the living person in the home, is creating the phenomena. Next, we're going to get into shadow people. Shadow people are inky black humanoid entities. They move fast. They're usually seen out of corner of your eyes. They're often interpreted as ghosts, demons, aliens, time travelers, or interdimensional beings. A lot of people say also that shadow people can be human spirits just unable to manifest fully into a full apparition. That's a totally different category from shadow people. Common traits of shadow people are they're male-like in form, usually very tall, 7 feet plus. Some often are reported wearing trench coats, long cloaks, capes, hats, such as top hats. They're usually very fast. They're silent. When you see one, it feels like a sinister energy. Doesn't always mean that they're evil, though. They're usually curious. A lot of reports with red or yellow glowing eyes, or even no eyes. And they seem to be able to defy any physical laws. They can pass through walls, pass through anything. They don't go by our typical physical laws as a living person would. But shadow people aren't always to be feared. A lot of times they just are here just wanting to be nosy. Some of the theories behind what shadow people are some believe that it's a human ghost unable to fully manifest, as I said. Non-human entities with their own sub-classifications. Like I said, they're usually perceived as evil, but they're not necessarily evil. But I mean, you matter turning around and seeing a 7 foot dark shadow in the shape of a man standing in the corner of your bedroom. I mean, you're going to get freaked out. I mean, I would. Unless he's got some cake or something, then I might get excited. Shadow people classifications. We have the lurkers, which they usually stand in doorways, corners, at the foot of the bed, and they usually vanish very quickly when they're noticed. As soon as you notice them, they're gone. We have the hat and cloak shadow people, usually the top hats, the long capes. Then you have there are the malevolent evil ones with red and yellow glowing eyes. And then we have black mass shadow people. And this is one I encountered on an investigation that I'm not sure you can see the picture, but it was coming out of the ceiling. I could not see it. I was there listening to my recorder for EVPs, and our full spectrum camera caught this mass coming out of the ceiling, and it got bigger in another picture. It started reaching like the middle of the room. Thank God I didn't see it, because I would have been out of there in like a heartbeat. But that house was pretty messed up. Next, we have something that's not talked about a lot, are the elementals. These are spirits of nature. They're guardians of sacred natural sites, waterfalls, rivers, forests, lakes, old trees, often referred to as fairies or trolls or gnomes. There's different classifications of elementals. There's earth elementals. They power over rocks, trees, flowers, and minerals. We have water elementals, streams, rivers, marshes, oceans, waterfalls. The fire elementals have control over flame and smoke, or protect flame and smoke. And then we have the air elementals, which they rule over clouds, snow, gases, wind. Elementals are very powerful and hard to get rid of and deal with. I had a friend who a couple years ago, about a year, 2 years ago, was trying to sell her house. A very nice house, very desirable location. All the houses around her were selling like hotcakes. Hers would not sell. They had repainted everything, decluttered the house. Great house. Um, so I asked her. I said, have you done anything to the property? Just throwing this out there, taking a wild guess. Have you disrupted anything? Because I knew they had a swimming pool. And she said, well, the county had come in, I don't know, about sometime in that past year and had rerouted a stream in the back of her house, which means they had taken the natural stream and put it in a different course. I said, well, maybe you could just try this. I said, make an earth offering, go out, plant some flowers, put out some wind chimes, put out a bird feeder, do some things that would make nature happy if you wanted to impress Mother Nature. Well, as soon as she did that, she got 3 offers on her house, and one was above asking by quite a bit. So, coincidence, or were the elementals upset that nature had been disrupted and the energy in her house felt really negative? And when the people came to look at the house, they just felt that bad energy? Don't know, not sure, but it's something to think about. Any questions, Heather, before I go on to our exciting tulpas?
I think we have a couple. Let me try to scroll back up. Okay. Have you ever been?
Hope everybody's enjoying this.
Yeah. Have you ever been attacked by a spirit or a demon?
Yes, I have. Quite painfully too.
Yeah, they're not nice when they want to attack.
No. And I was literally like had soreness in my ribs for 2.5 days and had to take Tylenol from getting punched in the chest. It's only happened once. I've been touched before. I've been breathed on before on my neck. But that was the only time I've ever been like painfully hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you believe that when someone commits suicide, they can't move on, or they're in purgatory?
Oh, I think they can move on. It's, you can't judge someone for committing suicide. You don't know what's in their heart. And they have free will. Once they've committed suicide, they can go. It's like they're ready to go. That's why sometimes they've done it in the first place. I mean, there's no set rules in any of this as far as going to the light or staying here. So I'm sure there's plenty of people that commit suicide that go right to the light.
Okay. Can residual hauntings be either visual or audio?
Both. They can be both. I mean, I think it's Lloyd Auerbach has a really good story about an audio residual haunting created by a couple that was still alive but had moved out of the house.
Yep.
I can tell you that one. It's kind of funny, but yeah, they can be just totally audible.
Right. I know Chris McKinnell, he has one. He calls it the popcorn ghost.
Uh-huh.
And they hear every night at the same time footsteps coming down the stairs, sounds of a popcorn air popper, which they don't own, going off, and then the footsteps going back up the stairs.
Wow. I guess that's something somebody did every night for a long time that left a deep impression.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are the black platform type things that appear as slithering snakes, sometimes human form, and
Oh, Heather, your sound's going out. I can't hear. Let me see if I can read it. Snakes, sometimes human form, and is Heather still with me? Not sure if Heather's still with me or not. Well, I'm not sure if she's here or if you guys could still hear me. I'm going to check my Oh, okay. It's Heather's internet. It's not mine. So I'll keep going. So next category are tulpas. I have to get back to that question about the snake things because her internet went out and I could not hear the question. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. Tulpas are thought formed entities, thoughts that come alive.
Sorry about that.
I'm not sure if the stream cut out too or not, since it's on your computer.
It said it was still live when I went to the home screen so
Okay. Well, I didn't hear her question, so we can come back to it at the
yep.
end, maybe.
I'll pull it back up.
Okay. So the next type of hauntings are tulpas. These are thought form entities, thoughts that come alive, your thoughts. Given enough focus and thought, we can create real sentient beings. Sentient means thinking beings. Some say tulpas exist only in the mind. Others say they can separate from the host, physically manifest, think on their own, and develop their own personality. Unlike imaginary friends, they cannot be controlled. They become their own identity with their own mind and personality. Those are what tulpas are said to be. Tulpas are sometimes known as egregores. This is an occult concept representing an entity that arises from a collective group of people. Sustained belief, ritual, and sacrifice, and relies upon the devotion of a group of people. All right, for example, you've probably all heard of the Slender Man. This was created by a person for some type of story. I forget why he created this character, but the character became very popular in groups. And then the next thing you know, everybody's talking about Slender Man, and then the next thing you know, people are seeing the Slender Man. I think a lot of you have probably heard about the case where the girl stabbed her best friend multiple times because Slender Man wanted her to do it. That was a very well-known case of when the teenager tried to kill her best friend because of the Slender Man. These are things that we create. It's like a separate personality that comes alive, that manifests on its own. And you can break this tulpas down into other subclasses. Servitors, where a collection of thoughts and drives become complex enough to act autonomously from the consciousness of its creator or magician through with explicit purpose. Let's say a group of people get together and they want to manifest an entity to do their bidding for them, good, bad, or otherwise. This is called a servitor. Egregores, born when the entity becomes large enough to exist independently and is shaped by a collective. Now, a lot of you know Annabelle, the doll that the Warrens have. Chris has mentioned a lot of times he thinks that the entity in Annabelle is an egregore, which is everybody in the world who has seen these Annabelle movies and knows about this doll has believed that this doll is evil. So in our minds, we've all collectively created this doll as an negative evil being. Therefore, it's manifested into that. So all these thoughts we've manifested into this doll being evil have come true, and it's become its own sentient, separate being. I don't know how other to explain that more simply, but it's basically our thoughts come to life. The third one is God form, sometimes described as servitors on steroids, incorporating elements of egregores and servitors. So these will be like nasty beings created through collective mindship, so to speak. So you don't want to be anywhere near a God form entity. That's not something that we hear often about, but I wanted to include it in case you do. All right, next we have attachments. A spirit will attach itself to a person and feed off their energy. Symptoms of an attachment are lack of energy to the point of becoming weak, creating mood swings, and a change in personality. I've often heard people say, well, I have an attachment, but it's not a negative attachment. Well, its personality may not be negative, but what it's doing to the host is not good because it's draining your energy and living off of you. So, regardless of it, if you think it's nice or evil, it should not be attached to you and you need to get rid of it because it can cause illness and other things to the body because it is your energy. So, when anyone says, oh, I have an attachment, but it's a good attachment, yeah, you should not have it regardless. Next is possession. A spirit or entity breaches your free will and takes over your mind and body. This is what we've often heard of demonic possession. But other spirits can also jump in. We call them jumpers or hitchhikers, can jump in and take over briefly. I mean, this has happened. I've seen a jumper on somebody before in person that was trying to relay information through her by being in her about something terrible that had happened to her, and the person was feeling what she had felt when she was murdered. I mean, that can be a terrifying situation unless someone around you identifies it and knows what's happening and pushes them off of the person. So possession doesn't always mean demonic possession. Next, we have haunted objects. Everybody knows what that is. A spirit is attached to an object. We don't know why. It just somewhere it likes to land and stay connected to. Most of them, people know of haunted dolls. I've got one sitting back here, but I think I crossed him over. So next we have ectoplasm, or other known as white mists. I mean, we've seen some of the paranormal shows where they've captured white mists on video. These are, and also a type of haunting. It may be a spirit that can't manifest. We're not quite sure what the white mists are. Or is it some type of energy? We haven't really had any chance to measure these. They're usually very quick, fast, and rare. But a lot of people say that it's ectoplasm. And last but not least, everyone's favorite type of paranormal haunting is non-human or demonic. And I'm not really going to say anything else about that because I don't need to, because you all know what it is. It's never been human. And they're probably not something we want to talk about. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you. This is my team. This is where you can find us. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
And try to get back to you. There you are.
Yep. Okay. So the question that we're in the middle of, when I don't know what happened with my internet. It just all of a sudden went and it was gone, but it was showing I had connection. So who knows?
Okay.
But Lori wanted to know, what are the black platform type things that appear as slithering snakes, sometimes as human form, and oftentimes a fluttering thing that goes across the floor and up onto furniture?
I've never really heard of it, so I can't say. It could be anything. It could be just energy of some form, a conscious energy. I don't like the word snake. Anything that's snake-like, I don't want to know anything about because I'm terrified of snakes. So it's hard to say what that is. It may be some type of elemental. I mean, does Lori feel threatened or afraid, or does it cause havoc in the house? I would need to find out more about it.
Have you ever had a paranormal investigation you could not help the client, and did you have to refer them to someone else?
We've had, like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I mean, you can present them with what they need to do to try to help remedy the situation, change their thought process, stop dwelling on situations. Sometimes we become obsessed, which leads to oppression down and so on. Yeah, I've had some that we just had to walk away from because they kept persistently egging it on after we left. But refer them to someone else. I would never refer them to someone else. I'm not going to pass a problem off to someone else because it's probably not a problem anybody's going to be able to handle because the person is in a mindset where they can't be helped.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's a ghost in your house, we can work it out. I mean,
it's when it's the human factor that we can't help.
the human factor is the hardest part.
Yep.
Yeah, this fella that we investigated his house 3 times, it was very active, but he was promoting the activity. Even after we came in and did a cleansing on the house, he went right back into taking pictures and trying to do EVPs, and he had a lot of negative energy and had negative people around him bringing them into the house. Well, that house eventually caught on fire and burned up.
Mm-hmm.
So
could a doppelganger ghost actually be an otherworld entity, such as an alien trying to trick people?
it can be anything. It's paranormal. It's the door is open. It can be anything. I mean, we've all seen on television when somebody sees their doppelganger, they're going to die. That's Hollywood.
Okay.
If I see myself, he better be thinner.
So at Tulpa's, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man could really be created?
If enough people want to manifest it, collective consciousness, create it, anything's possible.
Yeah, I know there's been, actually getting back on that, reports that just the Annabelle doll from the movies has been reported.
Yep. Well, you got millions of people concentrating on the same thing. I wish they would do that for world peace. Maybe see what we can get.
Why do spirits throw things?
Because they can. I'm sorry. I mean, if I'm a spirit and I can throw something, I'm going to throw it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may be someone, it could be your grandma trying to get your attention and you're not paying attention to the small things that they're doing. And the only thing they need to know how to do is pick up something and throw it.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would love to see something be thrown. I have not seen something thrown. We caught something moving on our last investigation on camera, which I'm thrilled because we never get visual evidence. We always get audio evidence, and we actually got something moving. So, I mean, they could be throwing it for a myriad of reasons. They could be just ticked off at you.
And I know we talked a little bit about how long you've been in the field, but when did you first get interested in the paranormal?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but I've been seeing people since I was young, and I pushed it away. And then something happened many years ago, and I saw. I was on a ghost tour, and I saw orbs with my own eyes in this house, and they shot across in front of us like a shooting star. That's the difference in a real orb and all these dust orbs that people send us tons of videos on. A real orb is going to be so freaking fast. If you catch one on video, you're a genius. And that kind of blew my mind because 2 of them flew through the room, one right after the other. Right in front of us. All 4 of us saw it. And that it was literally like a switch flipped. I'm like, oh, what is this? And then I started opening back up with my abilities, and it's, here I am on Ghost Ed 101.
And Lori says she's not afraid of the shadows. She just wonders what they are.
Yeah, no need to be afraid unless your gut, your body's reaction it's your best way to tell if something's a threat or not. How are you reacting when you see it? If you're like, oh my God, get out of the house, get out of the house. Listen to your instincts. But if you see it and you go, oh my God, that is so cool, then that's what that entity is going to pick up. It's like, well, she's not afraid of me. So
Yeah. And was Father Andrew Calder part of your paranormal group?
No, I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
Can you hear him snoring? I'm so sorry.
Oh no.
Okay.
I have my cat right next to me and my dog at my feet, so I'm sure that they're going to probably
Okay,
start
good.
snoring soon too. And we're all caught up on questions.
Well, great. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Like I said, this was basically put together for people who knew nothing about the paranormal investigation world. So maybe it was a refresher for a lot of people. Papa. So, well, I love more questions, but so we got to look up argon gas. I guess that's
Archon, Archon.
okay. That one's just totally
Yeah, I have it written down.
good.
And Barbara wants to know if you ever tried photography using a strobe light.
Yes, I have. Didn't get anything, but I've tried it. And something weird happened. I've got a body camera. It's a I forget the name of it. But somebody else on my team has the exact same one. And I posted a video recently of this bedroom door shutting very forcefully. And in that bedroom, her body cam light started flashing like a strobe light. They don't do that.
Nope.
And we're like, what the? And we could not turn it off. And I said, well, actually, this is an experimental technique of videoing with strobe light. And then it went off. It was really bizarre. But yeah, I've tried it, and I've tried it with, I'm not sure if any of you know Deadlight. Josh Bender makes IR lights. They're amazing, but they're very expensive. And he has a strobe feature on a lot of his IR light. I mean, they're big. I mean, they will light up. They're huge. But I have one of those, and I've tried videoing with the strobe IR light feature, but I didn't get anything. But yeah, that's an experimental technique.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Have you ever taken photos with the shutter open?
No, I don't have a nice enough camera to really do that. I'd like to do long exposure photography at a location, because there's a famous photo of something in England, and this ghost sitting in this fancy chair, and it was a long exposure photograph. And so, yeah, that's something fun and interesting. If anybody wants to look into it, as long exposure photography for the paranormal. But I don't have a nice enough camera to do that.
And okay, she said she's gotten some pretty cool photographs with the shutters open, holding the camera still, asking the ghost to show up.
Yeah. Oh, why haven't you done that on our investigations, Michelle? She's on our team.
She's revealing her secrets now.
Yeah, she just bought us some fidget spinners today that light up, that you were going over in your
I love them.
So we're going to use those. We got investigation on the 19th for fun. It's a Civil War house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely love them, and I can't wait to put them. I just don't have any investigations scheduled recently. But if you missed my last presentation, of course, I have a light, so it's kind of hard. So, and they are great. I love them.
Now, do you set them down on a flat surface and then ask them to spin them? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So you do not hold them.
Do not hold them, because you can do, alter it, but I just set it on the flat surface and it's high enough off the ground.
Yeah.
So actually my phone's sturdier. So, and then it can.
Very cool.
So, and with the lights, it makes it to where you can see them down the hallway going around. When I found these, I was so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've never, we all into the cat balls, but this is a great new find.
Yep. Yeah, no, I still can't believe when we were doing that one event that the guest was just, she pulled it out of her pocket and said, hey, let's give this a try. And it worked. And I was like, holy crap. And I've been using them ever since.
Well, that's like people talk about the scientific method. We investigate scientifically, blah, blah, blah. Well, how are new discoveries found? They're either found by experimental or by accident. So you got to think outside the box and try new things. don't stay in the box.
Mhm.
And that's, you discover that by accident.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because we used it when we filmed the documentary. So we use that too.
I have a device I want to make, but I need some large plexiglass pieces. I need 4. So if anybody listening has a connection to really cheap large pieces of plexiglass, I need 4 that are about 1.5 wide and about 5 feet tall, 6 feet tall.
Yeah, I have no
Universe.
connections.
Yeah, it's kind of expensive.
And Lori, if you or anyone else is interested to share your stories, or you want to talk about anything paranormal, send us a message. We're at Ghost Education 101 on Facebook, and we'll talk to you more about it. Maybe we can get you scheduled.
What's your book? We'll push
Yep.
it.
Yeah, I was going to say, Joshua just asked that next. What's the name of the book? So let us know. And if I see it, Carl wants to know, what body cam do you use?
Cam Pro, that's the name of it. Yeah, Cam Pro. And I when I go into an investigation, I have it on getting out of the car, and I tell whoever it is going into their house or location, I said, I have a body camera on. Do you have any objections? Because usually they're like, no, that
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And Andrea, it's called Real Haunts Ghost Towns by Motion Picture Video. It's on Tubi. And then Real Haunts 3 is also coming out hopefully soon. I'm still waiting to hear on that one. And the name of her book is Omnipresent by Lynn Monet.
And it's on her website. Okay. Yep. Well, shit, I got to look that up.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm going to write that down real quick.
Great. Okay. Well, this has been fun. And more questions. I may not have the right answer, but I'll.
Why do you need plexiglass?
I can't tell you. But it's to make an experimental device with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Lori, if you go to, it's at Ghost Education 101, you'll find us.
All I can say is it involves lasers and smoke.
Okay. Someone asked for me to type the documentary in the chat. So,
okay.
But other than that, there's no other questions. Oh, do you have a system to protect team members from accusations from clients?
We're always in pairs. Don't ever. That's one reason I like to have the cameras up first. If everything's recorded, you can't dispute a video. And another reason to wear body cameras. Mm-hmm. And that's like, we break this rule on fun investigations, never go off alone. But some locations are not dangerous. Some are. But if we're at a person's home, I would be really upset if one investigator goes off somewhere alone on the property somewhere. Always be in twos.
Okay. And Michelle says she'll help you find scrying to help, or scrying. She'll help you find plexiglass.
Okay. It doesn't need to be thick. It just needs to be where I can seal all edges.
Okay. And we are all caught up again.
Okay. You want to talk about upcoming Ghost Ed?
Yep. Let me pull that list up real quick. I do know in 2 weeks from today at 9 p.m., we will have Nicole Strickland joining us. I'm not sure what her presentation is. She says she's updating and editing one, and we'll be the first ones that she'll be sharing it with.
And who is she? For a little information.
Oh, I guess I should have researched that a little bit more. I know.
It's
I know her from Facebook.
It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday.
I know she's an author and paranormal, okay. And yeah.
Gotcha.
It's like you said, it's been a long week. I probably should have done that before I started talking about it. Shush.
Well, you're not getting that pay raise.
I'm not. And I kicked my table. Actually, she sent me her website, so I can pull
Oh,
that up too.
man, we might want to look at it before we put it up. There might be something wild on it. You're not a
And it
conquering
wouldn't be the
human.
craziest thing we've had on our show. No.
That's for true. But what?
Um,
Also, people that are watching, give us some ideas of things you guys want to learn about. I mean, we may not be able to know anything about it, but we can find somebody that does.
Yep. And I'm always for, I don't mind changing things up if I need to, as far as the schedule.
Because we're here for you guys. I mean, I love doing this stuff, but if there wasn't anybody to watch it, we wouldn't do it. So, of course, we probably would just because we like to do it.
Well, real quick, here's her bio. She is a founder and director of San Diego Paranormal Research Society. Has been featured in numerous media outlets, including speaking and writing engagements. She co-hosts Haunted Voices Radio with Todd Bates.
Yep, she's good.
Mm-hmm.
I know the team more than I know her name. Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, we're friends on Facebook, and I know you mentioned maybe to reach out to her, and I did, and she agreed to be on the show.
Yes.
But other topics we have is we're trying to find panel guests for paranormal research versus paranormal tourism. I will be doing a presentation on a look inside Nevada's ghost towns to go along with the book that I have coming out this summer. Lisa, on March 30th, will be doing a presentation on unsolved murder cases. And then we have hosting paranormal events coming up as well.
Good deal. I've saw someone that may be good for the paranormal tourism versus investigating panel. The man who hosted us at our last investigation at the Wright Hotel, he had a paranormal team, and now he is in charge of these historic locations to let people investigate. He was super nice, super knowledgeable. He might be a good guest. I'll give you his name.
Yeah. And I know Larry Lawson wants to come back, and so does Reverend Sean Whittington.
Good.
They both want to come back as well.
He's the one we got the EVP with, though, right?
No, that was Bishop Long.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was Bishop Long. Yeah, when he was talking about demons, we heard the little girl's voice.
Yep. And that I know wasn't anything in my house because I was alone.
I got two dogs. There's not a little girl in my house. Well, Paul, but Paul's a boy. Paul's a boy in a girl's body. That's a popular thing now,
Right.
So
actually, Sunshine wants to know if we talked about how we met and started the group.
Gosh, was it 2020?
Yes, it was right when COVID started.
Did we meet through that other group?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Would you like to explain that?
We were part of another group that was doing shows like this, and it kind of fell apart and wasn't consistent enough for us.
Being polite. Yep.
I'm being very nice. And I know Philip and Peter had started this one, and I kind of said, well, hey, I want to be more active. Can I come along? And we brought, I know, several other educators with us, but then one by one, they've kind of slowly, I don't want to really say dropped off because they've all just been busy with their own teams and their own stuff. Yeah. Because like paranormal investigating, Ghost Education 101 doesn't pay.
I'm out of here.
So
the check was in the mail.
I know. We do this for the fun and the love of it, and I truly have enjoyed it ever since.
Well, 2020 was a year from hell because of COVID. And I kept seeing all these paracons were getting canceled. People couldn't get together and fellowship together in the paranormal world, and other people think we're crazy. And I said, our own people. We can't talk about this stuff with the neighbors, especially not mine, because I got one neighbor that's afraid of my house because of so she's heard from the pet sitter that lives down the street. But I thought, there was a lot of jibber jabber shows on Facebook, which is fine, but there wasn't anything constructive, formatted, or seemed to have any kind of organization to it. And I thought, what a great way, since all these things are being canceled, let's do something like educational. And that's kind of how we got together. First, we were just doing like panels where we'd have a bunch of people discussing stuff. And then we got a little more structured with PowerPoint things and trying to do something different than what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And when I pick guests to come on the show, I try to have them have a PowerPoint presentation. If not, like Sean Whittington, he loves just chit chatting back and forth, but we still focus on things to make it educational and help everyone learn.
Yeah, because one question may open up a rabbit hole to 20 other questions about a topic.
Yep.
So, there's something always to learn. It's not like we're talking about sports,
Yep.
But you wouldn't learn anything from me.
I used to be a sports reporter, so I could probably talk on that topic.
Really?
Yes.
See, I just learned something.
Yeah, right out of actually when I was in high school, I covered high school sports. And then when I worked for the local newspaper, and actually up until probably about 15, 16 years ago, I worked for local newspapers as a high school sports reporter.
Well, look at you. Well, no wonder you're a good writer. I don't know a football from a baseball. I know you're shocked.
Not at all.
Is there a question pop up, or is that an old one?
Where?
I thought I saw one pop up. I knew it was an old one.
Nope. Yep, nope. We're all caught up, and we actually have about 13 minutes to go.
Well, would you like me to sing, or or we can go ahead and finish? Just up somebody. No other burning, desirable questions you got? You have for us.
Nope. And what always happens, because it happens on the other shows that I do, the minute I hit our outro video, like 5 questions pop up. It's like, no.
It's like when you're counting down to end the ITC session, when I say, I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, you must be gone. You must go back to where you were when you started. You can't stay here, blah, 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 which you all should be doing. Then they want to talk.
Yep.
When I get to 2, 3, hey. I'm like, you missed it. Too late. Yeah.
Stephanie says do a show on how to use paranormal equipment.
Well, we did one of those in the beginning. We could update it, though.
Yeah. That was definitely one of the first ones we did.
Yeah, I had my team. We had a equipment training day at my house last year. I think after our last investigation, we need to have another one because the people didn't pay attention. You attach it this way, and And some people use their equipment differently than others. I like things used a certain way. I don't like things to be carried around. I like things to be stationary, except for EDIs will carry from one room to another a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
But don't hold them, because our bodies emit EMF and temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So we affect our equipment.
Yeah, that's why my paranormal team is my husband and my son. I've trained them right.
And you can yell at them, and they nothing
exactly.
do about it.
And they don't complain.
Exactly.
Okay. I guess we can close it out because there's no more questions coming in. Lori does say that what we're doing is so important. People need to be more aware of other dimensional beings.
Bless your heart. Thank you. Because, we need feedback. I mean, do you hate it? Do you love it? It's like, oh, that's nice. Glad it's free. You wouldn't have paid for it. Just tell us.
I was going to say, if you hate it, I don't want to hear about it. Tell Philip.
I'll be out of town. Don't tell me. Tell somebody else. And I don't listen to gossip too much, but if you want to tell me anything juicy, just PM me.
Yeah, Michelle says it's great to have education on paranormal because sometimes people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, and a lot of the paracons I see are a lot just like worship sessions to me. Like,
Hmm.
oh, it's a celebrity. Ooh, let's go worship it. It's like you're not learning anything. So
Yeah.
I I'm never quite sure what their point is. I mean, I guess if they're selling stuff, books and things, I can get it. Seeing people that you admire, yeah, but I don't know if I'm spending money, I want to learn something.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, we don't have all the details yet, but, the Warren Foundation, we're trying to create a new kind of Paracon.
Yeah,
So
where you leave enlightened about something.
you leave smarter than you came in.
Yes, that's always the goal. Exactly. And you don't have to agree with everything because
Mhm.
I mean, people use the SLS and think it's the end all of equipment,
Yep.
and I don't, we can all get along.
Yeah. We all have a lot of difference of opinions
Yeah.
when it comes to different things.
Of course, mine are the
Yeah.
right ones, but
Yeah. Keep telling yourself that. No. And actually, a couple more questions are quickly coming through. Are all things you investigate able to be manifested by ourselves?
I don't, there's some things there's just, no, I can't, no. I mean, I'm not manifesting a lot of nasty stuff, and I've been to some nasty places. I mean, when you pull attic stairs down and you hear enough people whispering in the attic, I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the homeowner shouldn't do it because she doesn't live there anymore. They had to move out of the house. I mean, there's just things that I think that I don't think it's possible for me to manifest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If I could, man, I'd be trying to manifest some other stuff. That's for sure.
And what's the name of your group again?
Oh, Georgia Paranormal Investigations. Just look for the peach.
Okay. And Greg, this show is recorded.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have a YouTube anymore, but it will be on our Facebook page, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do it yet or not, but I might put it up on my page because it is a lot of good information on this one.
And to whoever the person was that reported our YouTube channel as spam,
Stick your tongue out.
let's say karma will probably not be kind to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you deprived a lot of people of a lot of good stuff.
Yep. It's almost one of those, do we want to rebrand and come up with a new, because I'm still trying to reach a human at YouTube to talk about it.
They don't have humans. It's
Yeah.
all AI. It's artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence that run YouTube and Facebook. There are no real people that work at either one. I just have decided.
Yep.
But it takes
It's
so long to upload those videos to YouTube, these Ghost Dad ones, because
mm-hmm.
most of them are 2 hours. I mean, I've got high speed internet, but oh my gosh, I mean, it would take forever to upload those. I mean, it's so much work to do it again. I'd have to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I'd have to have quit my job and do it full time. But
yeah. Michelle says your team is actually on YouTube, so maybe you could put it up there. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out because I don't get it. We post once every 2 weeks.
yeah, and it's educational. That's
Right.
not spam. I mean,
Yep.
there's people that post the most ridiculous crap on there, and they're fine. Yeah,
Yep. And they do it like 3 or 4 times a day.
and why they would not see, this is the difference between skeptic and non-believer. Shouldn't you have looked at the information first before you decided if it was spam? Nope, they didn't do it.
Yep. So who knows? But anyway, I guess we'll wrap it up. What do you? Someone wants to know, what do you think of poltergeist activity, and have you experienced it?
I have not. I would love to go somewhere where it's flying through the house, books flying. I would love it,
Mm-hmm.
but I have not.
Yep.
This last where we got this belt chain swinging, hanging on the wall, and nothing around it else is moving. I'm thrilled with that because it's undeniably paranormal because there's no wind, there's no ceiling fans, there's no draft. There was no one on the third floor at the time. We were all downstairs at the dining room table. And this one item hanging with all these other items is only one moving. And you keep hearing, hey, hey. But yeah, something to add about poltergeists. Poltergeists are really hard to diagnose, if that's can use that word, and to investigate, because usually the activity happens so fast and is so short lived. By the time the client contacts you, fills out the paperwork, you interview them, you get there, it is over and done with for a true poltergeist situation. Now, that's not always the case. There have been some long-term poltergeists, but I don't know the details. But the majority, if it is a poltergeist situation with an agent who is under tremendous stress causing it, it usually goes away very quickly.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation. I liked it. I'm sure everyone else seemed to like it too. And make sure you guys keep an eye on our Facebook page at Ghost Education 101 for any upcoming presentations.
And our investigation for my team, the fun investigation. I mean, we do carry out experiments and things on our investigations to try out new things that we may want to do at a private home. But if we get anything, I'll be posting them on our team page, and you can check them out. And we don't usually try to label EVPs like that said this. A couple of them I have, but the majority we don't. And if you listen to them, tell us what you think you hear. This is where we get into the classification ABC class of EVPs. Yep. What do you hear when you hear them? It'll say EVP and replay, but it will not say what we think it says.
You mean you're not going to circle it?
Oh, yeah. Circle it. Like, what am I looking at? I love those blurry pictures with things circled. Oh, slow.
Well, thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.